Just with the two and
right.
or present yourself. I mean, as you wish. As we do.
All right, broadcast or record?
Broadcast and record.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, welcome to Comic Combos. I'm your host, DJ Watcher, and today I have a very special guest with me, the host of Vibes O'Clock.
Somewhere.
5 o'clock somewhere, yeah. DJ Cryptid, how's it going?
And I'm super excited for this. Okay, so last week was a bit of a mess. I didn't have a guest, but this week we're gonna talk about comics.
Yeah.
Finally,
Hey.
actively. Okay. So, Vibes, host of Vibes O'Clock, or DJ
DJ
Cryptid. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you one question.
All right.
Favorite fast food restaurant has nothing to do with anything. I ask everyone that comes on.
Okay. So, look, we're here in Texas, okay? you already know what I'm going to say. And you know what? I'm not going to try to sound biased because I do also work there, but it's Whataburger.
God damn it! You know, that is the only restaurant I haven't worked at yet. I've worked at a Chick-fil-A and I've worked at a McDonald's. I've not worked at Whataburger. How is it?
Yeah, this one. This one.
No, I work in Westlaco. There's 3 of them, so I'm not going to say which of the 3 in case anybody, God forbid, is listening. But I hate it.
Oh, cool.
It's a job. Let's just say that. It's a job. I'm in college trying to get through it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, so today we're going to talk about...
Comics.
That is very specific.
Yeah.
Specifically, and perhaps not specifically, we're gonna talk about a few things. We're gonna talk about your favorite character.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about other comics that are coming up. We're gonna maybe pitch Civil War, the comic edition, redo of that real quick, and that's all gonna be here on Comic Combos. Right now, we are gonna play a bit of music just to get everyone interested, and we'll be back right now after 2 weeks by Grizzly Bear or. Grizzly Bear by 2 weeks. I don't know.
It's 2 weeks, Grizzly Bear.
Great. Let's go. Okay, hi. I'm DJ Watcher. We're back with DJ Cryptid.
Hey.
And right now we're going to talk about, we've got multiple topics. We got South Texas Comic Con that's coming up in April. When again?
That is going to be April 22nd in McAllen.
Really?
We're going to talk about Ileana Rasputin, which is, I'm led to believe, your favorite character, right?
Yeah, that is probably my favorite. I want to say my favorite, not just Marvel and X-Men character, but just superhero type character.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And something I really want to explore. And finally, in case we don't fill enough time with that, we'll be pitching our own little ideas of Civil War or any other comics we'd like to redo.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start off with, what do you want to start with first? Because you brought a bunch of comics in.
Yeah. So I guess we can talk about one of the first things, which is, Ileana Rasputin. Also known as by her superhero name, Magic. So, Magic is... Oh, okay. Have you ever seen, a few years ago, was released the movie, The New Mutants?
I have seen it. It's a thing.
Yeah, you know what? It wasn't the best.
No. The girl from Game of Thrones was in there. The kid from Stranger Things. And Anna Taylor-Joy played...
Taylor-Joy, yeah. She played Magic.
Yeah. And, Lockhead, Kitty Pryde's dragon...
Yeah, that
was in there. And I know that Kitty and Magic have a relationship sometimes, but it was weird that was, what they went to, and that they kind of did that old school superhero comics thing where it's of course the dragon's not real.
Yeah, that was... Because... For that movie, it was, mutants are kind of a thing. And it doesn't really explore outside of that, right?
No, they're there the entire time.
Yeah, so if you've never seen the New Mutants movie, came out, what was it, 2021, 2020?
I think it was straight up 2021. Also, real quick, because I just want to touch on this real quick.
Yeah.
The casting was oddly racist.
With Sunspot?
With Sunspot and the Doctor Lady, because I know that in the comics they're way darker, and because that was the point. It was supposed to be these people from this guy's from Brazil. He's a soccer star.
Yeah.
And then they just cast the palest, whitest looking Brazilian.
I remember when the movie was coming out. It hadn't come out yet. I was like, oh man, New Mutants. Heck yeah, I love New Mutants. And so I started seeing the cast, and I was like, oh, they're gonna have Sunspot, they're gonna have Wolfsbane, they're gonna have Magic, and they pretty much had a lot of the original OG of the New Mutants, Cannonball. But it was really weird because they did Sunspot, they did him dirty, and I was like, I'm very pro PC and whatnot, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But I'm very like, hey man, like he's supposed to be a little bit darker. Like he looks very like when I first saw the casting and I didn't like know who this person was, I saw him and I was like, is like that a white guy? Like he's not white in the comics.
Yeah, that's never. People complain a lot when like people of color are cast as like white characters. I didn't see a bit of outrage at this, and that's kind of messed up. Yeah,
but I like no offense to the comics, but I think it's mostly because not a lot of people know of the New Mutants, and it wasn't really promoted in this big way.
Absolutely not. But at the same time, the argument of just like, well, it's true to the comics falls super flat at that point.
Oh no, that the movie was not like the comics. Okay, there was some stuff obviously that was kind of like the comics, but they very took a different liberty. They kind of were like, hey, the New Mutants, let's take them, and we got the characters. What else do we know about the New Mutants? And then they just made up their own little story and whatnot.
That's the worst thing. Because I've never read about the New Mutants. I know a lot about the X-Men. I know a lot about the giant-size X-Men. Like, my favorite X-Men character straight up is Cyclops.
Okay, yeah.
I love a lot of what they've done with him. And oddly enough, I love his relationship with Emma Frost. Mm-hmm. And I love what they're doing with him and, like, the X-Men now. I have fallen off a bit. Mm-hmm. But, like, all in all, like, Cyclops and, like, his kind of character arcs through that is how I followed, like, the mutants in general. That's, like, when I think of the X-Men, I think of Cyclops, I think of Wolverine, I think of Storm. I think of, like, your typical, that is what X-Men is to me. And what I want to do is I want to read the Jonathan Hickman run, and that's still going. Mm-hmm. And I want to read Grant Morrison's X-Men.
Oh, yeah, of course. That is one of the best runs is Hickman, Morrison. And then we also got Claremont, of course.
The OG run.
Yeah, and I mean Claremont was the creator of the New Mutants.
Yeah,
and the first, what was it? The first Giant Size X-Men, I believe.
The first Giant Size X-Men was written by Chris Claremont. First appearance of Krakoa, and that was how like Wolverine, Storm, Colossus.
Yeah,
and Sunfire, who never gets brought up in regards to that. Nightcrawler. All met up for the first time. Yeah. It was super cool. They did Sunfire so dirty. Also Thunderhawk. I can't believe I forgot Thunderhawk too.
Yeah, well, of course. And you know what? So you're not too much caught up with Krakoa and like the new Jonathan Hickman X-Men.
I've read Hawks and Pox. Mm-hmm. I've read like House of X.
Yeah.
And I've read Powers to the 10. Mm-hmm. So I know that Krakoa is now like its own kind of island nation. Yeah. And mutants are kind of just doing their own thing. Which that could be a really interesting like.
It's very cool, but so Thunderbird or I'm forgetting his name, but he was dead for a while, and they just brought him back.
Wow, he's back.
Yeah, so
I don't know why I'm surprised, but you know.
So we're gonna kind of go into another tangent about X-Men, but
all right, yeah.
So for those who aren't familiar with what's going on in the comics, is that we have Jonathan Hickman. He's a writer for Marvel Comics, and he's probably one of the best.
Originally, he wrote, not originally, but he's probably most well known for the Secret Wars event that happened recently.
Yeah.
In 2016, which I honestly thought the lead up was way better than the event itself.
Yeah.
Because I loved reading Time Runs Out and his Avengers run. That was super cool. And his Fantastic Four run.
Yeah.
One of the best, like, the Council of Reeds is a super cool idea. He's the guy that came up with that.
Yeah, that Council of Reeds is like, why didn't I think of something like that? That's pretty fun.
It's super out there. It's comic booky in the best way.
Oh yeah, for sure. But Jonathan, he did he took the mutants, the X-Men, and he revamped them. He completely changed them. He gave them their own their islands, which was Krakoa, right?
Yeah.
And then
they've had a lot of those over the years.
Yeah.
They had Krakoa. Then they had Asteroid M, but that was mostly Magneto.
Yeah.
They had Genosha. That was also mostly Magneto.
But then that went.
But what actually surprises me, I think they've had this only applied to them recently because I remember that Adelan used to be above New York for a hot second.
Yeah.
And I remember that Asgard was in Oklahoma again for a hot second.
New Asgard, right?
Yeah.
And then there was something else that was a thing recently.
Island Muir Island was that one?
I believe so, but wasn't that where Wolfsbane was from?
I think so. I'm not quite sure.
So yeah, well, basically he did something really cool. He basically said, "Hey, let's take these two opposing sides of mutants and let's make them friends. Let's make them allies."
Yeah.
And they're pretty much going up against everybody who's not a mutant.
Okay, so this is going to go slightly into the more political, but the X-Men have always been more political.
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
Like,
since their
they are
first
the
run.
most political.
Yeah,
Like only, maybe not even only. Like Spider-Man's covered politics in a similar way. Wonder Woman definitely has. Superman should. Captain America is probably the only other like Marvel property that I feel like has gotten more political than X-Men.
yeah. You know what? You're right, but obviously because he's Captain America.
Captain America.
He's America.
He has to.
Yeah,
He is the very embodiment of what America should be.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, but getting into like the idea, I love this idea. Okay, so there's kind of this idea like among a lot more radical kind of like leftists and sometimes not leftists. Sometimes it could be like right wingers that do this.
Yeah.
About like separatism.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
Where it's just like, black people should have their own land. And usually that comes from the more like, racism was kind of fucked. Maybe we want to get away from that.
Yeah.
But also a lot of right wingers could also be like, white people should have their own land. And that's super racist because that always brings up a lot of extinction kind of shit.
Yeah.
So applying that to the X-Men, I think this is the first time that's actually been a thing where the X-Men have supported it. Every other time it's been Magneto.
Yeah.
Every other time it's ended horribly.
Yes, Magneto for sure was always like, hey, you know what? It's us versus them. And the X-Men have always been kind of like, no, like, let's coexist.
Yeah.
And so for this run, they kind of combined them both where it's like, hey, we can coexist, but this is our land. Do not come to our land at all.
That they are reining Magneto in slightly. Like, we're not going to actively engage with war.
Yeah.
But we are a bit frosty with each other, aren't we?
Yeah, for sure. And well, what I really like it, I mean, not only that, but they have their own council too.
The Secret Council, right?
Yes, the Secret Council, which is basically composed of 9 members. And let's see if I can remember them all off the top of my head.
I'll help you. We've got Xavier.
We've definitely got Xavier, yeah.
Moira McTaggart, I think.
So, yes and no.
Oh, okay.
So, Moira McTaggart, which is an X-Men character.
Oh, we'll get back to this in a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Right now, we'll listen to the Eagles' Hotel California.
Yeah, quick
All
break.
right, we will be back right now. And we're back with Comic Combos. My God, my voice blew up. Okay, so we're back. Sorry for cutting you off there. I am very new at this. Back to the Secret Council.
All good. So yeah, we're kind of talking about X-Men and the new kind of run of X-Men. And so if you aren't aware, in the comics that we have right now, so both of the sides, you have the X-Men and we have Magneto's Brotherhood of Mutants. Mm-hmm. They kind of combined, and not only that, we also have people like bad guys from X-Men, Mr. Sinister,
Apocalypse,
a huge one. And so they all kind of came together and created like a mutant nation. And on that nation, they kind of have like, they try to keep it like a monarchy.
Yeah.
In a sense. And I guess also like a council. And so they have what is called the Secret Council. And so it's about 9 members. Mm-hmm. We named one so far. Obviously, we're going to have Professor Xavier.
Yeah.
So he's definitely going to be one of them. Magneto.
Of course, it's going to be Magneto.
Yeah, for sure. And so also on there, we have one of their greatest adversaries and one of their greatest opponents, Apocalypse. Mm-hmm. So you probably know him from X-Men Apocalypse.
X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Or maybe better, you know him from the X-Men animated show.
Oh, yeah.
That was a way better take on him.
And so we also have on there Mr. Sinister, known for his mutant genetic programs that he would do.
My favorite X-Men villain, now have you know.
Oh, really?
once again, I'm a massive Cyclops stan. So like that his entire involvement with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Plus, this was pointed out on Nando V Movies. He's a YouTuber. He posts a lot of fun videos. He's the only one I feel like would still be doing villainy stuff if he wasn't an X-Men villain.
Hey, let me just say something. During one of their runs, the X of Swords run, he kind of I've been keeping up with his kind of centered comic, which was the Hellions.
Yeah.
But they had a point in there where they went to the new universe or to the different universe, and he basically sent people to get DNA from these other mutants.
Oh God.
So he kind of is doing secret sly stuff on the side. But so yeah, we have those mutants right there. Also we have
Give him a second.
well, obviously we have Emma Frost.
Of course, she's always involved in stuff.
Yeah, we have Shaw, Mr. Shaw.
Oh, you might know him from X-Men First Class, which honestly is not the worst place to learn about him.
Yeah, I kind of forgot he was in that movie. Then we also have Jean Grey.
Marvel Girl.
Marvel Girl.
Going by Marvel Girl.
Goes by Marvel Girl.
Usually just by Jean Grey.
Yeah, usually.
And
then we have Storm.
that's actually pretty fair.
Yeah, and Nightcrawler. Also one of the guys who's missing, I completely forget his name.
Describe him.
He's here. I'll show you a picture and we can describe him to the audience.
Wait.
He's the one sitting between
I know
Mr.
who he
Sinister.
is. Also, Mystique's there.
Oh yeah, and Mystique.
Vulcan, maybe? No, that's not.
Completely forget his name. We'll skip over him.
We'll skip over him because honestly, if we don't recognize him in comparison to everyone else who is super recognizable, probably not that important.
He didn't have a lot of in the beginning, but missing from there in the picture that I'm showing him is another one of the councils, which was they later got in was Kitty Pryde.
Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat, Ultimate Her used to date Spider-Man, dates right now Colossus, and well, she used to. I'm only going by what I know. I actually really like her as a character.
Yeah.
Not one of the first, but one of the main like Jewish characters in all comics.
Yeah. So and specifically, well, yeah, in Marvel.
Yeah.
One of the things about her, so she used to date Colossus. She, in case you didn't know, she also used to date Star-Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to know what she can do, phase through walls. Like,
yeah.
I don't know why I'm over-explaining her, but she seems like in that weird area of like you either know her or you don't.
Yeah.
Like.
And well, I mean, if you watch the original X-Men, she was one of the first ones in it, and I remember watching that and thinking like, hey, she's really cool. And
I remember her mostly from X-Men Evolution.
Oh yeah.
That's the one I recognize her from.
For sure.
All right, so that's the Secret Council, and let's go more into like about like the new Hickman run. Like,
yeah. So one of the things I liked about that run is that they have them going against pretty much everybody who is in Mutants. And I wouldn't say that they're going up against, but they're very much like, hey, you're either with us or you're going to be against us.
Yeah, basically what Jesus said.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is... The X-Men are pissed off, finally.
Yeah.
They've had it with the Avengers kind of being like, that's your thing. Like, they don't like that. They have finally taken initiative to do stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, and that's kind of the crux of this. Like, what if the X-Men were proactive instead of just kind of reacting? But that's kind of just House of X. Like, that's that kind of run. We also have the weird stuff, Powers of X.
Yeah, so during the new run that they started, they had the Powers of X, and then they had the House of X, or the other way around. It was House of X and Powers of X, and they were releasing these comics about 1 week apart.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because I definitely collected these comics, and when I first started kind of really getting into comics was right around the time that they had just started to release this. And I remember getting Powers of X and going, man, what is going on?
Okay, I had the trade, and I remember I was reading like, okay, the X-Men have gone full like separate nation, like that's pretty cool. And then turning the page and just like, why is Nimrod there? Why are we in the future? What?
Yeah.
What's going on?
So yeah, then Nimrod is there. There's the
And he's like super Nimrod. This is not
Yeah.
this is not your average everyday Nimrod.
Yeah.
Like machines run the world mostly.
pretty much. And
Yeah.
if you have a mutant gene,
Yeah.
you're like, well, obviously, in the X-Men they have,
Yeah, the X gene. That's the
Yeah.
premise of the entire thing.
and so here it's like, hey, if you even have a slight hint that you might become a mutant, boom, you're gone.
Okay, and you may be wondering, what does this have to do with the current plot line?
Yeah.
Why are we in the future? And why is Wolverine the only one people recognize?
Oh yeah. So in the Powers of X, we kind of get introduced to like the future X-Men in a sense. And then we have basically combinations of like older X-Men, which was
Yeah. Wolverine's the one that everyone will recognize. Apocalypse is there.
the Apocalypse is there. And then you have Magneto, but it's not Magneto because he's green.
Yeah.
We also have a combination of one of my favorite characters, as I mentioned, Magic and her brother Colossus
Yeah.
fused into one. And she's on the cover
Yeah,
of
she is on a lot of them.
Yeah, and then Nightcrawler and who's the other one?
I'm only gonna say I think Zorn. I know that he's there.
Yeah,
Flaming Skull dude, partly machine.
yeah, that's right. And I think he was also a combination of Chamber and somebody else.
Yeah, we're not gonna get too deep into it, but Powers of X was essentially X-Men meets Terminator via
Yeah.
Tron. Because it's them being hunted down by the machines. And
yeah.
I'm bringing up Tron just because the aesthetics are so different. Like it's very white, it's very smooth.
Yeah.
To like Terminator, which is like very like rough, very like rusty, like
Gritty.
gritty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's not this. This is very smooth, clean, sterile, and that's the creepy part.
Yeah, and it was also really confusing because they kept kind of skipping time and introducing this new concept.
Yeah. Phalanx, like
The feeling, yeah,
phalanx.
phalanx.
Like how at a certain point, and we swear to God this is gonna tie into House of X, but we'll get to that later. Right now we have Maps by Yeah or Yeah by Maps. I'm still not sure. All right, see you in a bit. And we're back with Comic Combos. Thank God my voice didn't blow up this time. All right, so to continue talking about Hickman's X-Men.
Yeah, so in case you haven't read it, it is probably one of the best introductions into not only comics in general,
Yeah.
but in X-Men. When I had just started getting into X-Men and comics in general, that was one of the first things I kind of picked up was the House of X renewal, rebirth, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
And it was a breath of fresh air into the X-Men. And compared to what else was kind of going on around that time, I believe, to me, I preferred it a lot better than what was going on. Because I believe at that time they were having, we had the Avengers going up against plant monsters. I'm not sure if you remember that.
Okay. So the X-Men status quo before that was interesting, very poorly executed though.
Yeah.
So just to go on like a quick tangent on this, it is a plot line that I would love, but turned out to be kind of bad. So
Yeah.
it was post Grant Morrison. They didn't know what to do, but they had a really interesting idea of getting rid of Professor X and Magneto and making Wolverine and Cyclops be like the main two. Kind of
Yeah.
on its own, that is an amazing progression, especially because Cyclops went more the Magneto side, while Wolverine went more the Professor X side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like it would have been like, if you told me that was going to be their futures, I would have bought it completely. I would have loved it, but it had a lot of issues. They kind of killed off Cyclops halfway through.
Yeah.
They didn't really do anything with it, and they had an Avengers versus X-Men storyline that really didn't do anything for anyone and just kind of made Cyclops. There was an entire thing of how Cyclops was right,
Yeah.
but they went out of their way to make him the villain in the least sympathetic way possible.
Yeah. I think that was around 2012.
2012, because that's when Schism came out.
Yeah, and
So if you want to look for like the roots of why the X-Men did this, it'd be essentially that.
yeah, and I remember that was probably the first comic I actually bought. Was it was already like probably it was the end because it was number 12 of Avengers versus X-Men. I believe it was a 12 issue. And I bought the last one. I was just kind of confused, like, okay, what's going on? Why is Cyclops a bad guy?
Yeah.
And the ending just basically had him locked up. And I was kind of like, okay, this is cool. I definitely like the concept, though. You know, hey, we got the Avengers versus the X-Men.
Like this has been begging to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's hard to disagree with Cyclops.
Yeah.
But it's also super hard to say like that the writers had any interest in telling that story.
Yeah, and I definitely enjoyed the side issues compared to the main issues.
Yeah, that's kind of a big problem with a lot of event comics.
Yeah, for sure.
We're gonna end that really quick.
Yeah.
But like that was kind of the lead up. Also in that run was the entire Bobby you're gay thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so quick sum up: Iceman was in the past. Iceman from the original X-Men from the past came in to talk sense into Cyclops, and Jean from the past told Bobby from the past that he was gay, which is one hell of a way for someone to come out to you, considering they're coming out to you.
Yeah.
And while it was a big step forward for like gay representation because it's Iceman,
Yeah.
a lot of people didn't like it because it was the most clumsily handled thing in the world.
Yeah.
There was your run-of-the-mill homophobes who were just like, Iceman, but like at the same time, like that is a horrible plot point. Like,
yeah, I don't think it was done right. Probably better ways to have done like bringing more awareness and representation in comics, at least.
they could have done alternate universe.
Yeah.
They could have just had not Jean Grey out him.
Yeah.
That was the weirdest part. It reads like J.K. Rowling's like, you, the reader, were gay the whole time.
It definitely kind of makes Jean Grey that person who like, hey, you kind of confide to that person, and it's like,
no, you should not trust Jean Grey.
yeah, don't trust a telepath.
A telepath at all.
Yeah, just wear a helmet.
Magneto's hat,
yeah,
a helmet, like that'll protect you.
yeah, for sure.
Why do you think Cyclops is the way he is? Like he dates exclusively telepaths.
He does. Emma Frost, Jean Grey,
Not just telepaths,
Madison.
the most powerful telepath.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he hasn't hooked up with Professor X yet. Okay. Back to House of X, because this is where we tie the two bridges together. Because like I'm sure you're wondering, like, what does this have to do with anything?
Yeah.
So Moira McTaggart is a character, and she's revealed to have been a mutant.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that was probably one of my favorite retellings of her character.
Yeah, because up until then she was just like nice lady that helps the X-Men sometimes.
Yeah, just a bioengineer who's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna help y'all because genetics.
Yeah. So, do you want to explain her power, or should I?
I can go. So basically, we find out in Powers of X that I believe when she was around, I want to say 7, 8, around the time.
Wait. I think it's okay. I'm gonna handle this because no, you go for it. I'm just.
Yeah, so she basically, something happens where she gets sick, and she gets really sick, and then nothing happens, and she lives her life. She has a family, yada yada. She dies. Okay, normal person. The next thing you know, she's born again.
Yeah,
and yeah, she's in the womb, and that was a really like weird way, but she's in the womb, and she's kind of like, oh wait. I have thoughts. I can sense what's happening.
I've been here before. That's creepy.
Yeah, and then from there on out, she basically is like, she's very intelligent, she's very intellectual, and she has a whole new like perspective in life because she's lived life before.
She has actively lived life before. Who gives a shit about her old family? Like, she is now bordering on 100.
Yeah, and so what we end up finding out is, oh no, or I won't say oh no, but she's a mutant and she can basically relive her life
at least 10 times, I think.
Somewhere around there. I believe it's 10, 13.
Freaking Time Lords.
And what I really love about it is that after her maybe second or third life, or that she's starting to live, yeah, she starts kind of like going, you know what's like, hey, that first life I had where I had a family, everything was chill. We're just gonna throw that out the window.
Yeah, no. Originally, she starts like researching cures for mutants.
Yeah.
And she does it, and then she gets killed by Mystique and Destiny.
Destiny Mystique, yeah.
And the rest of the time she spends protecting the mutant race.
Yeah.
Or the mutant variants of the human race. I'm not sure how to phrase that.
So yeah, so there's different timelines, and we don't know all the timelines because they don't.
I think they explicitly keep the 6th timeline from us.
Yeah, so there's a few of them that they kind of like, they keep either one of them for sure they keep a secret. Yeah. And then the rest are kind of like, okay, she does this.
We've got vague ideas. Like,
yeah.
I think it's the 4th timeline. It's just like what we would typically consider the X-Men timeline.
Yeah.
Like, this is our main idea, like the platonic ideal of X-Men.
Yeah.
Then it's Magneto. Mm-hmm. Later, it's later she
Apocalypse.
Hunts down everyone associated with robots, because this kind of points out like that. This comic insinuates that machines are like the natural enemy of mutants.
Yeah.
Because AI will fuck us over. So it's honestly potentially an interesting commentary on how like discrimination is systemic. Mm-hmm. The system is a machine. That's the enemy, not like who gives a shit about Senator Kelly when there's just gonna be a new Senator Kelly every day, and eventually they're gonna streamline that process to just machines. Yeah.
So basically, we get her living out different lives, and then she eventually decides, hey, I'm going to get with Magneto and I'm going to get with Professor X, because she already knows what happens in these lives.
Yeah, she's lived them 8 times.
Yeah, and so she just goes, hey, I'm going to give you all an offer. And from that, we don't exactly know what happens because it's not too much revealed. But we do know both Magneto and Professor X both come together and create the new comic era of the mutants, which is Krakoa.
Yeah.
And that is the new run of the X-Men. And it's really fun. It's very different, and I'm really enjoying it.
You can find it at most comic book stores and at your local Barnes & Noble as just House of X. Like, if you're looking for it, like, that's probably how you'll find it as.
Yeah. You can check out Kaboom Comics.
Yeah.
I go to both the one here in McAllen and then the one over in Westago. There's also, for sure, one of my favorite comic book stores. Check it out. I'm sure Myth Adventures.
Yeah. Nostalgia Comics in Bronzeville, if you live there.
Yeah. And there's also one in Harlingen. I definitely forget the name, but it'll get back to me later.
Yeah. We're going to cut it out right here. When we come back, we'll talk about Ileana Rasputin and any hot takes about the X-Men that we'd like to discuss for a quick second. Right now, I leave you with Your Love by The Outfield.
Hey, we're back. How's it going?
DJ Watcher and DJ Cryptid.
Hey.
We're finished with our conversation with
X-Men.
Hickman's X-Men. DJ Cryptid will be back in 2 weeks to talk about his favorite mutant, Ileana Rasputin.
Yeah.
Who I find odd. Let's sum up like that. I don't know much about her, so that's going to be a real interesting conversation.
Yeah, she's pretty fun. I definitely think she's had her ups and her downs. Definitely in the new run, definitely really cool.
As someone who doesn't know anything about her, she looks more like a cool drawing than a cool character.
Yeah, for sure.
Because all I know about her is that she's bratty and her brother's Colossus.
Yeah.
Okay.
And hey, she's a demon.
Great, let's go. Let's freaking go. Cool. So right now, just to kind of wrap it up, we're gonna just go over some hot takes about comic books, X-Men. It can be whatever.
Yeah.
Just hot takes. DJ Cryptid, do you want to start us off?
All right. So, favorite Spider-Man from the movies?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland. Okay.
I don't want to say by a mile, but there's just something about. I've always had a soft spot for like the hyper earnest characters. Like my favorite comic book characters of all time are like Superman, Mr. Miracle, Deku. If we're going anime,
yeah,
like that's just something I die for.
Hey, I agree.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
What?
So what's
that
your
is
hot
our producer
take?
John. Don't mind him; he's just wrong. Okay. Least favorite X-Men.
Okay. I don't remember his name, but he does come out in one of the New Mutants from the new run. Okay. I believe it is issue 5. He is like a bird guy, and he's just
talking about Beak.
He's disgusting. He looks weird. I'm being very prejudiced because
That's the point of the X-Men.
Yeah, that's one of the X-Men, but he's a very odd-looking person to look at, mutant. and just not one of my favorites.
He actually had a really good run in Exiles.
Yeah,
Which-
man, I don't know.
That's perfectly fine.
All right, so if you had to choose aside from Civil War, you're gonna go with Iron Man, and the Accords are gonna go with Freedom and Captain America.
I have to go with Captain America, but I hate that like comic. I love the movie,
Yeah,
but the comic terribly written, the movie really well written. Let's go Cap.
all right.
Which is actually a different position than I used to have. I used to be like a full-on Iron Man dude.
Yeah.
Obscure comic that you would love to have everyone read.
Okay, obscure comic. Oh, that's a tough one. So one that's been catching my eye lately is, it's called "What Is Killing the Children."
That is an awesome title.
Yeah, so there's that. There's also The Ice Cream Man. And of course, getting turned into, I believe, a Netflix or an Amazon Prime show, Paper Girls.
Wow.
Yeah, so those are three comics I'd definitely say you should check out for sure.
That honestly, that either started like that last one, Paper Girls.
Yeah.
I thought that was gonna be like a Fall Out Boy reference or
Hey.
or a anime reference of just like that time I got reincarnated as a slime.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're talking about like Fall Out Boy and kind of going in that direction,
Yeah.
we have My Chemical Romance's Gerard Way, and we have got Umbrella Academy, and next week I'll talk about that, Killjoys.
Also Doom Patrol, which is what I would have everyone read.
Yeah, the HBO
both-
show too.
The HBO show, the original run, well,
Yeah.
not the original run, but yeah, the original run, like, and the Grant Morrison run, and the Gerard Way one because he wrote that.
Yeah.
If any other obscure comic would be Seven Soldiers of Victory. I love that thing to death.
Oh, okay. I'll check that out for sure.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna like wrap it up right now.
Yeah.
This was DJ Cryptid, everyone.
Yeah.
The best guest I've ever had on.
Hey, thank you. If you're listening and you want to check out my show, I've got it's 5 o'clock somewhere every Tuesday from 4 to 5. 2 weeks from now, I got one of our local bands from here in the RGV, Lunar Hearts, coming in. So definitely check them out.
All right, and we're gonna leave you off with "Your Love" by The Outfield. Or I'm sorry, we just did that. We're gonna leave you off. I just started your arms tonight. Parentheses. I just close parentheses by The Cutting Crew. I've never heard this song.